Have you ever had those days, or maybe even weeks, where everything just feels heavy? Like you're walking through mud and you feel kind of numb inside. Even when something good happens, you just can't seem to feel the joy. It's like you've lost your motivation and all you really want to do is just curl up and disappear. Well, today we're going to look at these feelings in a totally new light, not as some kind of personal failure, but as an ancient survival response that's hardwired into all of us. This quote, wow, it just gets right to the core of it, doesn't it? It's about a level of exhaustion that's so deep, so profound, that even the act of hoping feels like it takes too much energy. It's a depletion that goes way beyond just being tired. And this one builds on that. It paints a picture of being in a constant battle. You're fighting and fighting, but it feels like every move you make just makes things worse. And then one day, your system just gives up. Not because you're weak, but because the battery is at absolute zero. There's just nothing left to fight with. Okay, but here is where we flip the script. This is the big idea. What if that feeling of being completely and utterly spent isn't a sign that you're broken? What if it's actually your body doing exactly what it was designed to do when it feels like a threat is just too big to handle? This is where everything starts to make a different kind of sense. So let's reframe this whole thing through the lens of our nervous system. This isn't about willpower. It isn't about just thinking positive. This is about biology. It's about a primal, instinctual response our bodies have when we feel completely and totally overwhelmed. First things first, let's toss out some old, unhelpful ideas. This feeling has nothing to do with being lazy. And that whole simple chemical imbalance theory, well, science has shown it's way, way more complicated than that. Instead, we can see this state for what it really is, a protective biological shutdown. It's like a circuit breaker in your body that trips when the system overload goes from, I can handle this, to nope, absolutely not. Now, the technical name for this sounds a little sci-fi, but stick with me. It's called Dorsal Vagal Shutdown. And the most important thing to know is that this is not just a feeling in your head. It is a real, measurable, physical state. It is the oldest trick in your nervous system's survival playbook. When fighting or running aren't options, the system slams on the emergency brake. To really get this, imagine a gazelle that's just been caught by a cheetah. For that gazelle, this shutdown response is a stroke of genius. It goes limp, which numbs the pain, and it basically plays dead. And sometimes, you know what? The cheetah gets distracted for a second, lets its guard down, and the gazelle gets a chance to bolt. In the wild, this isn't a weakness, it's a brilliant survival strategy. So how do we get into that shutdown state? Well, to understand that, you have to understand the other gears our nervous system shifts through. You can think of it kind of like a ladder or maybe a traffic light for your body. Basically, our nervous system has three main modes, and it shifts between them depending on whether it thinks we're safe or in danger. At the top of the ladder, we have our safe and connected state. That's the green light. One step down is the energized fight or flight state. That's our yellow light. And at the very bottom is the shutdown state we've been talking about, the red light. Our home base, our default setting, is at safe and connected state. This is where we feel calm, we can socialize, we feel joy, and our body can take care of business, like resting and digesting our food. It's the foundation for feeling good. But then, imagine a car suddenly cuts you off in traffic. Bam! Your body instantly shifts down into fight or flight. Your heart starts pounding, you get a rush of adrenaline, and your system floods with energy. It's mobilizing you to either face that danger head-on or get away from it fast. But what happens when the threat isn't a car you can just swerve away from? What if it feels like it's everywhere and there's absolutely no escape? Well, that's when you drop to the bottom of the ladder, into shutdown. Your body does the complete opposite of fight or flight. It conserves every last bit of energy. Everything slows down. And that is where that feeling of numbness, exhaustion, and being totally disconnected comes from. Okay, so a temporary shutdown makes sense for that gazelle, but the real problem for us humans is when we get stuck there. So let's look at how this short-term emergency state can turn into a long-term chronic condition, which often has roots in our past. And the data on this is just staggering. A famous study on adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, found a crazy strong link. People who had 4 or more of these really tough experiences as kids were over 3 times more likely to develop depression later on.
It's like their nervous system learned early in life that the world wasn't safe, so it made shutdown its go-to defense strategy.
And this is so important to hear. We are not just talking about what people call big T trauma. This shutdown response can be triggered by the slow, grinding pressure of things like constant criticism, bullying, or even just our own relentless negative thoughts telling us we're a failure. It's anything that makes our nervous system feel chronically unsafe and overwhelmed.
This quote just perfectly captures how confusing it feels to be stuck in this state. On the outside, your life might look totally fine. You've checked all the boxes. But on the inside, there's this huge disconnect, this feeling that something is just wrong. And it's because your nervous system, deep down, has been prioritizing safety over joy for a very, very long time.
Okay, so here's the most important part. If this shutdown is a biological response and not some kind of character flaw, well, that's actually good news. It means we can work with our biology to change it. So how do we start to gently guide our nervous system back towards safety and connection? It all starts with small, gentle actions. We can think about the path forward in 4 simple steps. First, we build awareness. That just means noticing and naming the state we're in, without any judgment. Second, we gently add movement, which signals safety to the body. Third, we actively work on building a real sense of safety in the present. And fourth, we give our body the grace and time it needs to truly rest and recover. Now, here's a crucial piece of the puzzle. You can't just jump from the bottom of that ladder, shut down, straight to the top, safety. You have to climb back up through that middle rung of activation, that fight or flight energy. But here's the cool part. You don't need to do anything drastic. Even tiny, gentle movements like tapping your feet, stretching your arms, or even just taking a 5-minute walk send a powerful message to your brain that says, hey, I'm safe, I'm capable, I can move. So what does this look like in real life? Well, it can be as simple as taking one small concrete action, like making your bed. That proves to your system that you're capable. It can be connecting with a safe friend or even just petting your dog. That co-regulates your system. Or it can be grounding yourself in your senses. What's one thing you can see, one thing you can hear, one thing you can feel right now? These aren't just fluffy self-care tips. They are real biological signals that the threat has passed. The big takeaway here is that this isn't about forcing yourself to feel better or snapping out of it. It's about gently showing your body that it's safe to come back online. The path out of shutdown isn't one giant leap. It's a series of small, compassionate steps. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What is one small, gentle step your body can take right now to send itself a little message of safety?